Hey friends, Tasha here. I got this question when it comes to about time management. What do you want to make sure I cover? And I'm just going to read it to you. Life hacks using the latest and greatest technology tools. There's got to be technology actually helps as opposed to creating more work. And I agree with you on that question. So today I am going to show you different apps and different features that I've set up on my phone to save time, help me to be more productive when it comes to my work. And I do want to take a second and just define what does it mean to be more productive. So it's not necessarily time spent as much as it is results created. And so when we look at productivity, we want to look at results created, actions taken, things like that. So whenever I try to think of what tools I need for my life, I take a minute and deconstruct the problem. There are tools for everything all the time. But if it's not a problem and I try to find a tool, it's like that whole don't fix something that isn't broken. So the first thing I need to do when I'm looking at my time management and productivity and technology is ask myself, what are my biggest time wasters? And these are my personal biggest time wasters, but I think this is a good frame of reference, and I'm sure this impacts a lot of people. And these are also things that I recommend to my clients when we start to uncover some of their challenges. So I'm going to walk you through my 5 biggest time wasters. And then I'm going to show you how I use technology to help make these things a little bit easier for me. So the first one is doom scrolling. And the definition of doom scrolling, the way I understand it, is like reading the news forever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever, or Facebook or Instagram or any social media, where you just like scrolling forever and ever and ever, and you get caught up in anxiety and fear and worry and, oh my gosh, the world is ending, everything is terrible. And so it leads to a decreased emotional state. So that's my first problem. That is something that I definitely am prone to. The second one is just a general lack of motivation. And I think all of us have different causes for lack of motivation. Mine will typically be linked to doom scrolling because then I'm in a negative state, right? So like when we're in a negative state, we're not feeling hopeful. That makes it a lot harder to produce results, be there for people, etc. My lack of motivation will typically come from like this super dramatic despair of, am I doing enough? The third challenge that I have as far as time wasters are just like my meltdowns. I've recently come to the, I guess I'd call it peace, that my meltdowns are okay. I'm not trying to avoid meltdowns. And so for me, my meltdowns are usually like compare and despair stuff. Is anyone going to buy anything ever again? Am I good enough coach compared to that person is usually where that comes from, or any sort of thing that's just going to like give me a meltdown as an entrepreneur. So, you know, I mentally plan for one a week. So I have enough buffer in my schedule, but if my meltdown takes 2 days and I'm out of commission mentally, that's a big problem because all of my work requires me to be mentally, emotionally present. And so these negative feelings, right, like all that garbage I just talked to you about, that can show up in trying to over deliver in coaching and spending too long on calls. That's a time waster. It could mean that any sort of creative work I'm doing, like recording videos, creating coursework, preparing, that's going to take 3, 4, 5, 6 times as long because I can't focus. Or sometimes I am just really not in a space where I just have to cancel whatever altogether, right? I can't write, I can't record. It's just not going to happen. I'm not in the space. And so then, you know, that time just gets lost. The fourth thing has to do with focus, and that's not being centered on what I'm trying to accomplish that day. Like, what are the major things? And the fifth, I'm just going to call lack of communication amongst my family. So whether that's Charlie or the kids, not knowing where people are and having to hunt stuff down, I think becomes a big time waster, or at least like something that's stressful. So I'm going to just go behind the screens. I'm going to do the screen share thing right now, which is super cool. Obviously, that's saving me time. I'm just actually, if you're wondering how I'm recording this, and I'm going to do screen share. I am using the Zoom app on my phone. That wasn't what I planned on talking about today, but I'm sure you're wondering how I'm doing this, and I'm doing it using the Zoom app. So here we go. We're going to do a share screen. I'm going to hit start broadcast here, and there we go. Okay, cool. So the first thing I'm going to address is my doom scrolling. So one thing you'll notice on my phone is there is actually no Facebook app. Despite me doing most of my connecting and social media and all that social media that I do in my groups, I don't have a Facebook app. And the reason I don't have a Facebook app is too darn easy to use, and it keeps me there forever. So I actually use Safari to scroll through my news feed. And the reason I do that is because it sucks. It's so clunky. So if I cannot control myself, I will, check my notifications, but then I have to hop off because it's not fun to spend an hour. Like, you can't do those things. So that just forces me to get up and go to my computer, which is where I'm going to be more effective and efficient anyways. Okay. My news app is here. It's hidden. I can find it pretty easily, but I'm going to show you guys how to set up settings so that you don't spend forever on there. So I'm going to go to settings, and if you have a non-iPhone, I'm sure there's similar features on here, but most people don't even think that this is an option. So I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to go to screen time. I don't have downtime off. You can do that. I think this is funny. Communication limits based on your contacts, like leave me alone. I'm going to go to app limits, and you can see that I can turn them on, and I can choose, right? I can choose different apps that I can put limits on. So the limits that I have right now are news. So I would maybe click into this, right? Find whatever app. But the way it's set up is I go to news. You can see there's a time limit. I can choose the time, turn on an app limit, so-and-so. So I have 15 minutes for news, which is enough to just check the news, make sure I read the articles that are pertinent to my life, like decisions I need to make. Facebook, 15 minutes even in the app or even in the browser as opposed to the app, and 10 minutes on Instagram, just in case I try to hijack my Facebook limits and move over to Instagram. Now, what happens when you put limits in is at that time, it'll just say, hey, you're at your limit. Do you want to keep doing this? And for a long time, I just kept saying, yep, 15 more minutes, 15 more minutes. But I realized on my last retreat, this was not helping me. So I'm really doing a much better job on just saying, okay, I told myself 15 minutes. I don't want to get in a negative state. And this even counts when I'm in the evening, right? If I spend an hour on that in the evening, even though I'm not working necessarily, that's keeping me from my family. But in general, it's sucking my emotional energy, which is just that much harder to recover for the next day. The second is lack of motivation. And it's this like, am I doing enough? So one of the things that my coach worked with me on when I very started this business, the coaching business, was the idea of impact precedes income. So if you want to make money, it's going to take 60 to 90 days of consistent impact on people's lives. And I found this app, I can't remember where, called the 5-Minute Journal app. And this is what I recommend to people for really staying motivated. Am I doing enough? Am I focused? What am I focused on that day? And here's how I use it. So I'm going to go into like today's date. I can hit edit. And here are the things that it asks. There's 3 things I'm grateful for. So when we're grateful, we're in a much better spot. And it's so easy to focus on the things that are not going well in our business. But I can put in here, it's just going to force me. And I do this specifically for the business. So 3 things I'm grateful for: mastermind tomorrow. That's cool. This Zoom situation is cool. I'm grateful today I met with my business coach. So I'm grateful for Heather and her just being never ending patient with me. So that's that one. I can put more if I want. What will I do to make today great? Now, this is the last thing I'm doing for today, but I might say, okay, so app video, rock my coaching calls, right? And do the thank you page. And if I do those 3 things today, that is going to make today great. And everything else is can come after that. Daily affirmations. I am committed to staying focused. All right. What were my highlights from today? So one of my, I don't want to break any confidentiality here. So one of my highlights for today was Heather helped me with naming a product. That was a win. I'll also typically put like my impact journal here, like who did I help, right? So just to not break my confidentiality, I'll say client A, right? She's all set up for her webinar today. And I might say client B, right? I really helped with time blocking. And so I'm constantly focused on my wins in my business. If I could go back, how could I make today even better? I definitely somewhere midday started to get distracted with nothing. I got distracted with email. So maybe I just needed to take a 10-minute break between creative tasks. So I finished one. I was probably kind of like mentally tired, and then I moved to my next task, but I think I wasn't very disciplined. So then that closes the loop, and now I'm in good shape. So that's a 5-minute journal. I like that one. So here's a new one I found that I showed one of my masterminds last week. And this one has to do with like emotional management. So I was reading a book called Permission to Feel. It exposed me to the mood meter. And so the mood meter identifies your feelings. So here, I'm not in a negative state right now, but let's say it was. I can go to the mood meter, and apparently, just learning now about feelings, that knowing, being able to name your feelings helps you to move out of it. So let's say earlier today, so I am, at my core, I've been selling stuff my entire life. And so even though most of my role is coaching, when I personally don't like create a sale or something, even though our marketing does more of it, like I get uneasy. So I go in earlier today, I was feeling uneasy. So I can go to uneasy and then hit next. So I know it's like negative, high energy. Like I was starting to feel a little frenetic. So I go uneasy, and you can see, right, worried, irritated, pick whatever it was. It wasn't as far as like apprehensive or anxious. I would definitely call it uneasy. So I started feeling uneasy. I was at work. Can I identify one or more causes of my emotion? This is typically the hard part, but the most freeing. Like, haven't sold something today, right? Which makes sense because we don't have anything. Like, we don't have any webinars today. I'm not doing any sales one-on-ones. Obviously, it makes sense, right? But I can at least identify it. Given my current tasks and goals, do you want to maintain your current emotion or shift to a different emotion? That's a good freaking question. So I'm going to shift, and I'm going to think of my favorite joke. My favorite joke. What's at the bottom of Shamu's pool? Shampoo. That makes me smile. And actually, I am feeling that uneasiness settle, which means now I can get back on track. So I think this is a really fun one. I use it with the kids right now a lot. We'll do that to just kind of move through some of these things. Number 4, not being centered on what I need to accomplish that day. So what I will typically do in the morning is just go over to my Google Calendar and say, okay, what am I trying to do right now? How do I get back to like today? So here we go. So I know that like if I were to start this tomorrow, I would go, okay, I need to do this, and I can just start to make that clear definition of success for the day, which I think is super, super helpful. Google Calendar, what's also nice about Google Calendar is, these are some test things, I think, but when I have, events, I can now share them with now that one is solidified, I can share that with my kids, my family, and everyone is on the same page, which is the 5th one. Let me go ahead and stop the screen share. Let's see, can you guys see me? All right, hey, how's it going? I do have one more that I didn't note. And I do think this is a really, really important one. And it is the phone one. I think we've really gotten away from having conversations with people, and text is great. And I use it. It's so important to me it's so great, right? But if we're talking about how do we increase positive emotion, right, as something that helps with productivity, and how do we decrease negative emotion as something that helps with productivity, then I think we have to talk about the phone. So I'm going to just tell you a story of this past Sunday. So I told you I have a weekly meltdown. Normally it's on Wednesday, but I got it out of the way before the week really started Sunday morning. I got a message that triggered just an insecurity in me, some compare and despair. It's really quite ridiculous in hindsight, but in the moment it was really real and really was messing with my head and brought up a lot of stuff. So I tried to focus myself Saturday evening, and then Sunday morning I was like, okay, I don't want to be in the state for a long time, so I'm going to send an SOS. So I sent an SOS to my business partner Karen, who's, I'm sure she was thrilled to get this on a Sunday morning, but I was just like, SOS, it's not ER worthy, it's urgent care worthy. So if you have a few minutes today, that would be great. Because I knew that if I waited until Monday, it would get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And then it would take 2, 3, 4, 5 times the amount. So we're texting. And at first, I needed the texting to be able to gather my thoughts, like in writing, and to be able to read them back. But at a point, maybe 10 minutes into this, she just responds, "You want to just call me?" And I think that we would have gone back and forth. And we wouldn't have been able to actually finish the conversation because one of us would have had to go. But within 5 to 10 minutes, I heard an actual human saying, basically, "You're okay. Like, it's okay that you feel this way. It's not true, but also you're okay. And if someone else is, so much better than you, and these things that you're worried about, the spiral that you're in happens, then we'll figure it out at that point." And to have an actual human do that, as opposed to a text, really set me at ease very, very quickly. And I was able to have a great day. And I came in yesterday morning, just like ready to rock. It wasn't dealing with that, wasn't on. It didn't have to take away from all the creative work that I needed to do. And, what we were able to accomplish in 5 to 7 minutes probably would have taken 45 minutes over text. And so I just want to encourage you guys to connect with people, whether it's customers. Use the phone app and Facebook Messenger. You can actually call through Facebook Messenger. Just use that button and just ask them, "Can I just call you real quick?" You'll be surprised at how many people will be like, "Yes, that is so much better." So I hope that's helpful for you. Just a quick recap. Number one, adjust the settings so that you have timers on things like social media and news. 5-minute journal for sure. Mood meter, that's a fun new one that I like right now. And I have started recommending it to clients. Google Calendar. I love Apple, but Google Calendar is superior to iCal. So I would go with that one. And phone app. I think those are the best ones. So I'm curious which one of these solutions stood out most to you. And I hope that even just hearing the stories of a professional business coach who works in sales, leadership, productivity, literally performance coaching, struggles with a lot of these same things. So I just really want to encourage you guys to write down, what are actually the things you struggle with, and find a tool that helps you with that, as opposed to just a bunch of tools and just adding them to the list. So I hope this helps. Hope you guys have an amazing, amazing day. And thanks for watching this all the way through.